Welcome back to ICOReview, and today we're going to be diving in to the B token, and shout out to Jerome Hodgson for recommending this ICO to me via Twitter. B token and its associated platform at a glance will be Airbnb, but on the blockchain, which is a fun play on words now that I say it out loud. And the main distinguishing feature for me here, again at a glance, is zero commission decentralized home sharing. So the use case for the token will be on a related platform that the company is calling Beenest, and it is a home sharing platform for hosts to list their homes and for guests to find accommodation. So again, there is that Airbnb concept, that competition there. Now, with taking an Airbnb style model business onto the blockchain, really, we're looking at a couple of interesting things here. Most notably, what I like the idea of is that the funds for the transaction isn't held or controlled by any particular administrative body. Now, I don't know of any cases with Airbnb where that's necessarily been a problem, but just the fact that it's coming onto blockchain and utilizing the blockchain buzz, excuse the pun, that is beneficial for the company's launch timing, because blockchain, crypto, very popular at the moment. And it's a nice idea to have payment processes not handled by a single administration. That way, people aren't freezing funds, etc. And in terms of control of funds, the entire protocol is sorted out with Ethereum smart contracts. So fantastic. And another key difference here as well between Airbnb and the B token and Beenest is that should there be a dispute arise in the transaction between tenant and homeowner, is that they are, I suppose, to use the term loosely, decentralizing the actual arbitration of any monetary dispute on the platform by externally sourcing arbiters that are then rewarded in B token for the service. It's kind of like volunteering for jury duty. But now let's move on to the value proposition, mainly because that is the main distinguishing factor for this project. And frankly, I think the value proposition is the main distinguishing factor for B tokens to potentially win out against Airbnb in the long game, or at least take away some of their market share. And the first factor here being that the B token is proposing a 20% increase in revenue for hosts and property managers. In terms of the incentive for guests, the token's value is tied to adoption of the platform, which seems to be the case for many ERC20 tokens. In theory, as demand increases, so does the token's value. So let's say you're an early investor in B tokens and you do travel a fair bit, especially to areas where B token and Beenest will be proliferating. If the token value increases above your initial investment, you stand to be able to stay in a lot of locations for a very small initial investment. So it's an interesting way of selling the value proposition to the client, like that concept I took directly from the white paper. There we go. So talking about the network effect, that concept is directly out of the white paper. And it's an interesting way to sell the value proposition. It's like prepaying for your accommodation, but when you prepay for one, you get 5, given exponential growth and factoring in your initial investment. And allegedly, lower fees of staying due to the 0% commissions. Let's talk about this commissions model for a second. Their commissions model though they're advertising 0% commissions, that is only if you use the B token. And I have to say that that is quite solid compared to Airbnb. The fact that if you are a B token holder, you can leverage the fact that you invested or picked some up on an exchange for 0 fees in exchange, which is fantastic. However, they're still going to accept Ethereum and Bitcoin, which to me is still a leg up on top of Airbnb, especially as crypto becomes a lot more popular. And it seems like though a lot of people are using crypto as a store of value, that sometimes it's just nice to say you use your crypto on something. It's potentially cool to have another use case for Bitcoin and Ethereum out there. Instead of a 0% fee attached to Ethereum and Bitcoin, it's a 1% fee attached to Ethereum and Bitcoin, with the 0% fee being reserved for the B token itself. And then a 4% fee for processing on top of fiat. So it's interesting. It's an interesting proposition in that the platform isn't limiting itself for business by saying, no, we only take the token. Another use case and another value proposition for the token is for people that are planning to list a property on this platform, in that they will only accept the B token to boost your listing. So let's say you're trying to beat everybody else out in your area. There are a few Airbnbs in the area that are taking some of your market share, or there are some Beenest listings in your area that are taking some of your market share. You can use B tokens to boost your listing on the platform. And if that starts to happening and that sees adoption, therefore more value on the token because of more demand. And then when it comes to compensation for people staying in your property, the company can pay out in B tokens and Ethereum and Bitcoin. So just looking at this value proposition for the B token, that is the main distinguishing factor for me against the use of Airbnb. So one, you have to be a little bit crypto minded, and two, you have to like an extra 20% on top of your bookings. Having a look at the social piece now, their Facebook is 407 deep with likes. Their Twitter is 944, which is very disproportionate compared to the 1,600 and some change on their Telegram. So it's really cool to see them having a very disproportionately large Telegram with a very active community, and more importantly, very active and very helpful Telegram staff members, which is absolutely fantastic. And a shout out to Jay Cooper of B Token here in the Telegram for answering all of my questions earlier on today. Thank you, brother. So in summary, it seems as if this ICO won't necessarily be shooting for the moon, but there's a really solid value prop for anybody that is already an Airbnb user, whether you're a guest or whether you're leveraging a rental property that you have. And finally, ICO will be in Q1 of 2018. The Ethereum to number of B tokens hasn't actually been set yet because of inflation, etc., which I do like that they're leaving that until a little bit closer to the date. You just don't know what's going to happen. I have seen other companies say that X amount of Ether equals X amount of tokens, and instead of giving you more tokens when Ether price goes up, they've just left it and they've made bank. They'll be producing 500 million tokens and looking to reel in 15 million to launch the platform officially. So I actually think that's quite modest. I think that's very attainable, and I like that they aren't just shooting for the moon. I like that they're not trying to take ICOs and crypto just for what it's worth and putting like $100 million valuation on their own project. Just looking back on everything that we've covered, what I can see here is a solid value proposition for anybody that is already leveraging the Airbnb platform. I mean, who doesn't like another 20% on top of their revenue that they're generating with another platform? I would be leveraging both platforms. If it was me, I'd be listing on both platforms and letting the best man win, and that's going to come down to how responsive the team is. It's going to come down to how solid the platform is and how reliable the smart contracts are. And honestly, I've never heard of a case in the past of unreliable smart contracts, but you just never know with Ethereum network getting congested with kitties. And that's all I have for you. On this one, I'll be lurking in the Telegram and keeping an eye on this project. It's an interesting proposition. And I think just by leveraging the blockchain, that's what's popular at the moment. Crypto's popular at the moment. They have positioned themselves far better than if they had just done an IPO, than if they had just been another everyday startup. They're leveraging some good hype here. So I'll be watching closely. I have been your crypto enthusiast, and I'll see you in the next video.